Poverty and homelessness is big business.
Yes.
Think in terms of moving that issue. You're going to have to get up and do something about it. And that is my purpose. My task is to speak to 3 findings from the report, and then I'll make some brief comments about those 3 findings. Number 1, New York City vacant properties could house every homeless person and then some. Now, this is a very important thing to take note of, because all of us have been conditioned by the propaganda over the years, decades, that we're dealing in a time of scarcity, when in fact we're dealing in a time where there's abandonment in the midst of abundance. This country has the capacity to produce a prefab house in 45 minutes. It has one line, empty houses all over the country that are available. So this report confirms the fact of the possibility of us ending homelessness here in New York. Second, there's no need for shelters.
Yeah.
They call them modern day concentration camps.
Yes.
There's no need for shelters. This report proves this in terms of the amount of vacant lots, vacant housing, and again, you combine that with the kind of wealth that this country has, its production capacity, there's no need for people to live in shelters. Number 3, this report can be replicated cheaply. And the idea that you cannot find out the problem, and therefore you cannot find a solution, is erroneous. And this report proves that that's the case. My comments on those 3 findings. There's more on that in the report when you get a copy of it. The recommendations from this report are specific, and Brother William is going to follow me with some specific steps that will be taken. The Picture of the Homeless realized that this problem of homelessness and the possibility of ending homelessness exists within a larger problem. That's in a problem where you have a tremendous concentration of wealth, about 1% of the population. It's a problem where we have an economy that is poverty producing and homeless producing. It is part of a problem that can only be solved if we begin to get together and build a movement, a social movement, in which the Picture of the Homeless is clearly prepared to spearhead that development. But this is a big problem that we're dealing with. It is connected with all the other social problems. You find me someone that has a problem with homelessness, I'll show you somebody that has a problem with jobs, with health care, with all the other problems. This is a big problem that we're tackling. And again, requires that we build something big, a big solution to this big problem. The accumulation of wealth in this country is abominable and something we've got to deal with. But the people who represent that accumulation are very powerful people. They have organizations. They have their tentacles all over the place. And if we're going to come to terms with this, we're going to have to do as what's been done in history. And that is the building of a social movement led by those most affected. I think Picture of the Homeless has demonstrated his capability of giving leadership, despite all the stereotypes about homeless and poor people, that somehow their problem is self-inflicted, that they cannot speak for themselves, they cannot think for themselves, they cannot fight for themselves, that they cannot lead, not only themselves, but they can lead the nation. In these communities, among the homeless population, but among the poor population at large, geniuses,
Yes. Yes.
intellectual, capable people, right here. And it's a shame in a nation like this that we don't mobilize that type of genius and intellectual resource to resolve these problems that we're dealing with. But, but as a proud board member of the Picture of the Homeless, I think we are committed to beginning to wake up this giant and to begin to have the talents and intellectual capabilities realized in a big way to resolve the problems that we have at hand. I'm going to stop here and give the floor over to the next person. Thank you for listening.
He wouldn't mention it, but I will. Willie Baptist is the author of a book that's recently published, which is about energizing poor people to fight against poverty and getting ministers and poor people together to finish the work that Dr. King didn't finish,
yes,
which is what Union Theological Seminary is teaching me about. So finishing the Poor People's Campaign, energizing poor people to fight poverty, that's the new book that he has, and he can talk to you about that. But it's part of how he exemplifies the leadership that we're working to develop.